Freelancing, tools that will save your professional life. Communication tools, productivity tools, and creativity tools.
Welcome to Your Freelance Friends podcast. In this podcast, we're giving you tips and tricks on how to become a successful freelancer. We're here to guide you through your journey and share some of the things that we've learned along the way to save you time and headaches. Our goal is to provide you with information that you can use to give your clients the most value, no matter what your niche or experience level is.
Yes, so in the last podcast, I mentioned that today's podcast will be about motivation because it was supposed to close our series of 10 episodes about freelancing. So we talked about motivation in the first episode, and I was thinking, let's finish also with motivation. However, we decided to continue this series, and we are going to change the topic and talk about tools. So communication, productivity, and creativity tools that will definitely save your professional freelancing life. So let's just jump right in, Rita.
Yeah, great. So the first topic of tools that we're going to discuss is communication, which is so very, very important when you're freelancing or a remote employee. I think we've mentioned that a couple times throughout our episodes. So some common tools that I personally have used, and I think Anna is pretty familiar with also, are Slack. It's a great communication tool. You can make private channels, you can have team channels, you can customize it really easily, very user-friendly. Another one is Microsoft Teams, which has become, I think, even more popular in the past year with everybody going remote or maybe diving into the freelance business themselves. Microsoft Teams, again, pretty highly customizable. You can make different channels for whatever you're doing in there, groups, one-on-ones. Another one that is pretty common is Google Chat or Google Meets. It's 100% free too, which is great. So you can have instant messaging in there, or you can have meetings. Same thing, I think, with Teams. And then another one I think that was worth a mention is a lot of CRMs have some sort of internal communication tool that you can use. Personally, I work in Salesforce a lot, and we have what is called Chatter, where you can comment back and forth to your teammates within the CRM and kind of tie it to, your contact or your company, whatever you guys are talking about. And then one more, which, we'll kind of talk about a little later on in the episode, is WhatsApp. This is more of a instant messaging, and it can be for personal use or sometimes for business use, but we will get into that a little later in the episode.
Exactly. So those tools that you mentioned, I think that I used all of them with some of my clients. And I think what's important to mention is that in general, we shouldn't force our clients to work with any of those tools, meaning the clients your client, when they come to you, they probably already use some tools. So for example, they use Microsoft tools and they use Teams, right? And it's rather us who needs to learn what tools do they use and get used to them than the other way around. So well, usually when you have clients from Upwork, for example, you can communicate with them through Upwork. But a lot of them also want to communicate with you through the internal system. So for example, you are communicating with your client and also with the team, and everyone is, for example, on Microsoft Teams. And it's us who should learn those tools. It's kind of, I think that it's something that has to be said. It's kind of, I would say, it should be obvious, but I think that it's important to underline it that, well, if you use Slack and your client doesn't use Slack, you shouldn't say, oh, you have to use Slack because I communicate through Slack.
Exactly.
You should rather say, I will communicate with you in this way. However, I also know that, for example, for me, I was communicating with one of our clients of agency, one of our clients through we were communicating through email, and I just thought that to make us more productive, I would propose that we can move to Slack. And I explained to the client how to do it, how to use it. I set up the whole workspace or however it's called, and it worked. So you cannot force your client, but you can educate and help your client to start using those tools. But yeah, anyway, if client already use some tools, use their tools. Don't force them to use your tools.
Right, exactly. Be adaptive, but if there's not something already in place, if what they're using is inefficient, always suggest what could be more efficient
Exactly.
for them.
Exactly that.
Uh, so let's touch a little bit more on instant messaging tools. I think we want to just caution you a little bit with this because things with WhatsApp and some other similar ones do tie to your private number, and that's going to be on your device, on your personal device, on your cell phone, which is always, on your person. So there is the possibility that your client will expect you to always be on, or the other side of that is you might feel like you always have to be on and you're constantly answering them outside of your hours of availability. And it's so important to keep your work-life balance. So it's great to have these, and maybe with some of your team members, it's not an issue, but do use a little bit of caution when you're giving them out to your clients and people that are expecting you, when to respond and how to respond on your own personal time.
Totally. Well, I think that nowadays when we have those apps to communicate, you can have Teams on your phone, you can have mail on your phone, of course, you can have
Right.
Upwork messages, you can have WhatsApp, and it's kind of like all those apps started to be almost instant, right? Almost instant communication.
Right.
It's important to kind of know when to stop, like when to
Exactly.
not get used to answering all the time. Of course, we are for clients, right? So we want to answer them all the time, but then
Exactly.
kind of like your work-life balance, it will crash, it will be too heavy for you. So be careful with this, and
Mhm.
also be careful to give the personal numbers, personal emails, because well, you can disconnect from your email when you have 3 days, but if client has your private email or private number, he will know that you saw this message, so he will or she will expect you to answer, and it's like not healthy for both sides. So yeah, totally agree with you.
Right. Exactly.
So
Life is
next,
all about balance, even professionally.
yeah, totally. So next thing that we would like to talk about is productivity tools. So when we say about productivity tools, or communication tool also improves their productivity, but what we mean is more like project management tools. So for example, ClickUp, Monday.com, Trello, or Jira, all those tools are used to manage your tasks, manage your projects, and from my experience, at least, I think Rita, you have similar,
Mhm.
is that usually clients already use those tools. Like if there's an organization, usually organization already use some kind of project management tool. And as
Mhm.
you are working remotely, it is always good to keep your tasks. So for example, for me, even if my clients don't use those tools, I use them for myself, so I can have all my clients listed in, I don't know, let's say ClickUp, and then I have all the tasks, so I can hold myself accountable, and I can remind myself about tasks that I need to do. But if your client use them also, you just put your things there, right? And you manage projects of your client in the tool that they use. And those tools really save a lot of time and headaches, as we say.
Seriously. You
Yeah,
can
like,
only remember so much on your own, but these tools you can plug in, you can put, due dates, you can put notes, you can do interpersonal or inter-team communication. They're really, really, really lifesavers. I think kind of going a little bit more into that and going more to the management side of productivity, kind of keeping yourself organized, is the management of files. So I'm going to kind of bounce back to the Google Drive again. Another cool thing about the Google Drive is you can do Google Sheets, you can do Google Docs. You can do a lot in there. And again, it's totally free. So that's an awesome one. And then also something that me and Anna both did with our clients, but I never had a name for it before until I met Anna, is a preference sheet, which is just, you can do it on a Excel sheet, you can do it on a Word sheet, however you want to organize it, but it's your own personal preferences for your clients, what their email is, what their Zoom link is, what their Calendly link is, where you can easily go to that document and reference what you need to do and keep everything organized all together in one sheet.
yeah, especially it's important if you are a virtual assistant, right? If you are assisting your client, very often we have information about the they logins, the passwords, sometimes the credit cards, right? We need to somehow store this important information, and it really takes a lot of time if you always need to come back in the communication where the client send this
Exactly.
information, right? So it's good to
Exactly.
have one sheet, one place where you safely store this information. And like something like
Hmm.
preference sheet is something that you can basically have like a template for a client that you send at the very beginning of the cooperation, and then the client
Yep.
just fills in the information, which is crucial. Like, I don't know, what's the email, what's the phone number, right? All the information that client want you to know, and it's just easier.
Hmm.
It saves so much time for both of you.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
yeah. Just one thing here is that, well, if on your preference sheet, on your template, if you have, for example, credit card details and you're not using credit card details, it will be weird for a client that you ask for that. So just like remove it, or say that your client needs to fill in those places that they want, right?
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
for example, virtual assistants sometimes need to book tickets for their clients, and clients might have preferences in terms of where do they want to sit, or how much
Hmm.
time do they want to have before arriving to the airport, and how you are going to organize their schedule, right? So those things
Hmm.
can go to preference sheet. And if the client doesn't want to fill it in, you are just filling it in. When you're working with client, you are just filling it in, so you can always refer to this document. Anyway,
Exactly.
this is the document that you can just keep and have, and it's very useful. And in terms of those systems, coming back to the systems that we mentioned, project management systems like ClickUp, for example, I think that it's also good from us, as we already have experience with those tools. It's good to show and educate your client about them. Meaning, for example, you are starting to work with client, and this client is, let's say, small company, entrepreneur with 2, 3 employees, and they never use such tools. Why don't you want to help them start using them? Maybe they never thought about it, maybe they didn't have time, and they actually need someone like you who will organize those tools for them. So it's good to educate client also, because you already have experience with those tools and you can help your client start using them.
Exactly. Exactly. We all want to keep everybody better organized. That's part of our job as a virtual assistant. So introduce the tools if they're not using them already.
Yeah.
So last topic, creativity. Which tools to use? I am not super well versed in creative platforms, I'll be honest, but Anna introduced me to Canva, which I love. You can do different kind of templates, you can do resumes, you can do presentations in there. Really cool. It's free for what I'm doing. I'm not sure if they have a couple different tiers there, but for what I use it for, it's free, which is great. Another one is iMovie. There's one called Audacity, and there's also other free websites like Unsplash. So, explore what you may need. And again, most of these platforms are very super user friendly. So just kind of go in there and play around. And, anything that's free is worth a look.
Yeah, Rita just mentioned few of those websites or platforms or tools, but there's so many, and I'm sure that like our marketing colleagues will make fun of us after this episode, but they will be like,
Definitely.
what kind of basic tools you use?" But we are talking to people who are maybe not experts. We are talking about basic tools here. So what I want to say is
Yeah,
that,
super basic.
yeah, but what we want to say is that basically you don't have to be a designer to design something, to do a basic graphic. Either it's for
Exactly.
your client or it's for your use. So your personal use, you want to market yourself, you want to post something, you want to create something for your website. You don't have to pay someone to do it if it's like basic thing. And you can really do it quite well with those tools, and they are free. So make sure to use them, and they are very easy to use. And sometimes, well, for example, for clients, for virtual assistants, we as agency, we often have clients who don't need marketing person, they don't need designer, they don't need marketing person, they need a virtual assistant who will manage their marketing tools, social media, for
Mhm.
example, and they will create very simple graphic. And for this, Canva is a very good option, right? So those are some kind of tools that you can explore. They are free, they are easy, they are fun to work with. So why not?
Exactly. Yeah. And also, again, if you learn a new tool, you get to beef up your resume and add that to your skills list. So why not learn to do a little light designing? We are in the digital world where we are visual people. We want to see something exciting. So I think that's a awesome thing to kind of dive into if you can, or if it's a need. And, you know, a lot of them are free. So very, very, very cool stuff there.
Exactly. So Rita, as always, remembering about you always remember about putting it on your CV, which is
Yeah,
important.
put
I
it in your
always forget to
CV.
mention this.
Always good to put it on your CV.
Yeah,
Constantly build that, constantly build.
yeah, exactly. You are building your skill set, and it's important, and they are so easy to use. Anyway, I already said
Mhm.
that like 4 times. So summing up, we already talked about communication, productivity, and creativity tools. I think that we covered everything what we wanted in this episode. So anything else, Rita?
I don't think so. I think that sums it up.
Okay, so bye.